Good morning. This is the Keeping It Real Sunday School class from Cornerstone Baptist Church in Richland, Missouri. I'm Dr. Max Thornsberry, and I'm the teacher. And my wife Brenda will be reading the scriptures this morning from the Authorized Version, the original King James Version of the Bible. I might add, it's not copyrighted, so you can use it and quote it and do anything you want to with it without repercussion. All other versions are copyrighted. Remind you of that. We're going to be studying the second chapter of Daniel today, and we're going to read the entire chapter. It is a phenomenal chapter. It is written by Daniel in Hebrew. We've had it translated to English, a pretty good translation, I believe, in every commentary I can read. And we're going to get a crash course in world history. So without further ado, I'm going to have Brenda start reading Daniel chapter 2, 1 through 12.
And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, and his spirit was troubled, and his sleep went from him. Then the king commanded to summon the magicians, and the astrologers, and the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spoke the Chaldeans to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, The thing is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation of it, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a refuse heap. But if you show the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation of it. They answered again and said, Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it. The king answered and said, I know of certainty that ye would gain the time, because you see the thing is gone from me. But if you will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you. For you have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me till the time is changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can show me its interpretation. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, There is not a man upon the earth that can reveal the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such things of any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is no other that can reveal it before the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon.
Wow, that's quite an overreaction, don't you think?
It's a little much.
Well, Nebuchadnezzar attacked Jerusalem the first time in 605 BC, and he was not king at that time. He was a prince. His dad was still king. His dad died, and then 2 years later, 2 years of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, which would make it a full 3 years, he has had this dream in 602 BC. So the Hebrew children, Daniel, Azariah, Hananiah, Mishael, have all completed their three-year training program. Now they are part of this group of wise men in Babylon. I'm going to tell you, Brenda, these were idol-worshiping people. For the most part, they believe, notice it says that none of the gods only the gods can reveal this to you, and they don't live in the flesh of men. They're not with the flesh of men. They are thrust into this big deal that Nebuchadnezzar has brought about. He's had a dream. He can't even remember the dream himself, but he wants these guys to tell him what the dream was, and also not only tell him what the dream is, but interpret the dream. Well, they tell him it's not possible.
Yeah.
You're asking something that is impossible. It can't be done. No man can know what you dreamed. Only the gods, little g, would know, and they don't dwell with the flesh of men. They had quite an argument for him, but it didn't deter him, did it? So he was pretty upset with him. You know, I've spent all this money training all these people. I've sent all these people to college, and they got all this book learning, and they can't even tell me this dream. And he was mad as he could be.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent his chief marshal, is the way that was really interpreted, the head of his police department, and he's getting ready to go out and kill them all. And so let's pick this story up in Daniel chapter 2, verse 13, and read through 16.
And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, who was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, Why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation.
So Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, they're now in the wise men.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the decree of the king is given to kill them all, they're caught right up in it.
Yeah.
Now Daniel has had good favor, and you'll remember that we studied last week that God had given Daniel a gift of interpretation of dreams and visions. You will remember that dreams occur when you are asleep and visions occur when you are awake. Many visions occur at night, which can be confused with a dream. But if you keep the definition straight, a vision, you are mentally awake. A dream, you are asleep. And so the king has had this big, elaborate dream. He can't even remember what it all was. He wants them to bring it back, a remembrance back to him, tell him what it is, and then interpret the dream as well. And so Daniel has asked the chief marshal to, delay what he's going to do, give him a little bit of time so that he and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Azariah, Mishael, and Hananiah can go to the Lord and beseech the Lord for this interpretation, for the knowledge of what the dream was. I always say vision, but it's dream. And so he agreed to delay what they're going to do one night. He delayed it one night, Brendan. I mean, they're getting ready to go out there and kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to wipe out the university in one fell swoop. I'm not sure that wouldn't be a bad idea today in some universities. But that's what they were going to do. They were going to wipe them out in one fell swoop. So read 17 through 19, please.
Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven.
So Daniel was given the dream and the interpretation in what?
A night vision.
A night vision. That means that Daniel was mentally awake when he received this. This is a God-given ability. It says he was gifted in interpretation of dreams and visions. And so what God has done after they have beseeched him, they have sought him as this group of 4 eunuchs. And I didn't mention this last week, but these young men were made into eunuchs when they were taken to Babylon. Daniel never had any descendants. His name is not in any lineage, nor is neither Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They do live a long time as a eunuch, and Daniel is going to actually finish up with some of his prophecy and revelations of God way up in his 90s. He never left Babylon, in other words. These men never left Babylon, never came back to Judah. So these 4 young eunuchs, maybe now 17, 18 years of age, maybe a little younger, are rooming together, and they seek God's guidance, and God answers their prayer. And then, Brenda, I want you to read 20 through 28, please.
Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his, and he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings, and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to those who know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what it is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and hast made known unto me what we desired of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordered to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will reveal unto the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Judah, that will make known unto the king the interpretation. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation of it? Daniel answered in the presence of the king, and said, The secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers reveal unto the king. But there is a God in heaven, who revealeth secrets, and maketh known unto the king. Nebuchadnezzar, what shall be in the latter days? Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these.
Now, we're going to get into a vision of world history, where Daniel is going to explain what the king saw, and then he's going to interpret what the vision means. And so I'd like you to read through the revelation of the dream, and then when it says, and this is the interpretation, I would like you to stop there.
As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into my mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter. And he who revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. But as for me, the secret is not revealed to me for any reason that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form of it was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, its breast and its arms of silver, its belly and its thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest until a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon its feet that were of iron and clay, and broke them to pieces. Then were the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth.
Now this is what the dream was. This is what Nebuchadnezzar actually saw. Now it's very important to understand what this image represents. Had a head of gold, had a breast of silver, had a waist and thighs of bronze, had legs, lower legs of iron, but what was its feet made of?
Part iron and part clay.
And will iron and clay mix?
I don't know.
No, it won't. You make a clay form and pour liquid iron in it in order to make a hatchet head or a hammer head. They don't mix, and yet this is what the vision demonstrated, that they were mixed together, that iron was just kind of mixed in with miry clay, is what it talks about here a little bit later. Now that is a pretty weird image, isn't it?
Sounds like some of the dreams I have. Make no sense at all.
And you can see why Nebuchadnezzar could not find sleep once he had seen this image, because this image was huge. And notice it says this image was brilliant and terrible. What does terrible translate there to?
Well, it doesn't say, but I would say almost frightening.
Yeah, it translates to awe-inspiring.
Oh.
This wasn't just a clay dough type of figure that I might
Not like
make
Mr. Bill?
No, not like Mr. Bill or Gumby even. No, it was a very finely crafted thing. And So now we'll move into the interpretation.
How far do you want me to go?
We're going to read the whole chapter, Brenda.
This is the dream, and we will tell its interpretation before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wherever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the heavens hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of bronze, which shall bear the rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of the potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, forasmuch as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not adhere one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Forasmuch as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation of it sure. Then the King Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. The king answered unto Daniel and said, Of a truth it is that your God is the God of gods, and the Lord of kings, a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal this secret. Then the king made Daniel a great man, and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Then Daniel requested of the king that he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king.
Well, that's a lot of reading, but the reason I want to point that out is the end result is this is a story much like Joseph. Mm-hmm. And when it's all said and done, mm-hmm. Daniel is
head over
prime minister of all of Babylon.
All the stuff.
And Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Azariah, Hananiah, and Mishael, were rulers of the province of Babylon, and Daniel is over the whole darn kingdom. Mm-hmm. God has placed them in a position here where they have complete authority in this nation, and it's going to show here later on in the book of Daniel how significant that placement was. Well, what does this big statue mean, Brenda? Can you tell me what all those gold, silver, bronze, iron, and clay mean?
Well, aren't you the teacher?
Well, he told you, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Said the gold
is the top.
Is Nebuchadnezzar.
Next is the silver.
Next is going to be his sons, and they're going to fall apart. Mm-hmm. And then after that is going to come Cyrus the Mede, the Medo-Persian Empire, and it eventually is going to be completely conquered by Alexander the Great, which represents the iron. And Alexander the Great's kingdom is going to be divided. Alexander the Great actually died in Babylon at age 29 or 30, I think. And they split the kingdom up. And in that splitting up, some of those kingdoms became strong, some didn't. That's how you got Antiochus Epiphanes trying to destroy Jewish worship in Jerusalem. And that's why you had the Maccabean revolt, and you had the Maccabeans conquering Antiochus Epiphanes' army there in Jerusalem and lighting the menorahs. And you had the Festival of Lights, which is still celebrated today around Christmas time. It occurred in the winter. Even Christ celebrated Hanukkah. Oh, a great thing. And then this iron and clay represents the Roman Empire. Now, if you look at world history, we are an extension of the Roman Empire. All of the nations that came into the New World, this side of the world, were all former provinces of the Roman Empire. Spain, Portugal, France, England. We essentially are part of that Roman Empire. And notice that the prophecy here, the interpretation here, it's not a prophecy, the interpretation of this dream, not vision, dream, is that this is going to eventually be broken up by this great stone, specially hewn, that's going to come crashing down and destroy all these kingdoms and set up its own kingdom. Now, who do you think that represents?
Well, I'm going to say it's probably Jesus.
It's the Lord Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And he's taking it all the way from Nebuchadnezzar's time in 602 BC, before the birth of Christ. This image is going to take time all the way down to when Christ sets up his throne in Jerusalem and rules the earth with a rod of iron and treads the winepress of what?
Oh, I don't know.
John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave.
What in the world has
John Brown. Well, that's where the words for John Brown comes from. He's going to rule with a rod of iron. He's going to tread the winepress of fierceness. And he is going to control the entire world. So we go from Nebuchadnezzar all the way down to Christ's 1,000-year reign. All represented in this image, all given to Nebuchadnezzar. Now, you're going to find that Nebuchadnezzar was he was a demon-worshiping savage until he went mad and acted like a cow for 7 years. And when God restored him to his mental state, he became a believer. And he extolled God. Now, he was a believer right then, but not fully a believer, right? He extolled God. He told what God did, and he lifted up Daniel, but he didn't. And just in the next chapter, he's going to make a golden image, and those who don't bow down to it, he's going to throw in the fiery furnace. So, God had his hand on Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar actually wrote the 4th chapter of Daniel in Aramaic. So Daniel's written in 2 different languages. Daniel cannot be completely interpreted even today. It's 70 weeks, all the different prophecies about the end times. But Daniel did predict the exact day that Christ would make his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. You remember when Jesus said, O Jerusalem, I would have gathered you as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings. You should have known the day of your visitation. Had they studied the Scriptures, they would have known. He told them the exact day that Christ would enter Jerusalem triumphantly. So, wasn't that a beautiful prayer that Daniel prayed? When he received the dream and the interpretation. Can you read that prayer again for us, Brenda, just part of it? And not to delay for time, but it's going to be 17 through 19, I think. No, it's going to be verse 20 through 23.
Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to those who know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and hast made known unto me now what we desired of thee, for thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter.
You remember that acronym that we used, Brenda, about prayer in some of our lessons a couple of years ago? It was a very simple one. It was ACTS. Do you remember that?
I probably have it written somewhere.
A was for adoration. C was for confession. T was for thanksgiving. And what was S for?
Supply.
Supply. Boy, you're a pretty good student. I believe you get a gold star today.
Oh, thank you.
I better put that up on the wall there.
You should.
Okay. Does this prayer fit that?
Of course.
Yeah, it fits it to a T, does it not? And so, what do we learn from this historical lesson full of information, knowledge, recognizing that God is the author and finisher of our faith, and that He is a receiver of men's prayers?
And you're talking about us
Turn
today.
to Hebrews chapter 4 and read 14 through 16 for us, Brenda. And we will close.
Seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not a high priest who cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need.
Does that not say it all for us, Brenda, in
It
our
does.
modern New Testament time?
Of course.
We have the privilege to come to God, to seek Him for help in time of need because of what Christ Jesus did on the cross.
And He is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
He is. Things have not changed. The same God that revealed to Daniel this dream and the interpretation is the same God that has saved us through giving His Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. And Daniel has predicted that this thing is going to happen through this interpretation of this dream, that eventually all of these kings and kingdoms of the earth are going to be crushed away. They're going to be like chaff on a threshing floor. You're going to throw it up and winnow it, and the chaff is going to fly away, and what's going to be left? The Lord Jesus Christ.
Okay.
We have much to pray for. We have much to be thankful for. We have much to confess in this nation. But understand, Daniel was stuck over there in Babylon, totally out of his culture, totally out of his comfort zone, people talk about today. And yet he stayed true by seeking God's guidance and direction. Can we but do the same?
Yes, we really must.
See you next week.